Welcome to the Halley Elise Show, featuring your host, empowerment psychic Halley Elise. She is an author, psychic, and media personality, and has been listed as one of the top 100 psychics in America. Empowerment psychic Halley Elise shares the spiritual, metaphysical, holistic, and magical powers of the universe. Follow Halley on her website at HalleyElise.com, and all her shows can be seen via live stream video. Now, here's your host, empowerment psychic Halley Elise.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Tonight is Psychic Monday, or Monday Psychic, or Psychic something. No, I'm just kidding. I do try to do this on the third Monday of the month. It doesn't always work out that way because of guest schedules. Sometimes, even though I want to do Psychic Monday the third week, we have to shift it around a little bit. But this evening, we've got a special for you. Instead of just a half an hour of you being able to call in, I have the entire hour. Tracy Marks from We the People will be back next week at her regular time at 7 p.m. So if you usually watch me and then watch Tracy, just know that she definitely will be back next week on Monday at her regular time and regular schedule. Okay? I want to share with you folks a little, if you will, commercial. I'm going to give a shout out to the ladies that own How. And it's not like How, as in Native Americans that they used to tease years ago, but it's How as in Holistic Organic Wellness. And that actually is the name of the center. It's HOW. It's a fabulous place right on Federal Highway. And truly, you want to go in and check it out. They're all about peace and getting centered and your nutrition and wellness from one end of the spectrum to the other. It's mind, body, spirit. Today I went in for a facial. Got to tell you, best facial I've had in forever. Stephanie is amazing. She knows her essential oils. She's got a great touch. She is very aware. And the reason I put it that way is because a lot of times you go in for a facial and they automatically start to, really work the skin in the same way that somebody would do for a massage. And some people are more sensitive than others. So you have to kind of be aware of how your touch is going to affect someone. Not only that, some people have allergies and can't deal with a lot of essential oils. Thankfully, I'm not one of those people. I love it. The more, the better. And when you're working with oils, they don't just smell good. It's that whole aromatherapy factor, and she can tell you all about that. So she's pretty amazing. And then there's Adriana, who does all the fitness stuff. She's got supplements and vitamins and protein powders that taste like chocolate, which are amazing. She's got this chocolate vegetable thing going on. Amazing. So I am giving them a little plug today. I think I'm eating hair from earlier. But they're pretty amazing. They're right here in Boca Raton. They're on Federal Highway, and I have their number. It's 561-955-0099. So that's 561-955-0099. If you call, just tell them, hey, heard about you on the Halley Elise Show. She said I should check you out. They're a plethora of information. They are a great resource. And if nothing else, you want to walk into the shop just because it feels good. So all of that said, tonight's going to be fun. I have the floor open. You can call in and get your psychic message. And in case you don't remember the number from the last time we did this, it's 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470. And as I mentioned, Tracy's going to come back next week. So we have this hour. Normally, it's 6:30 to 7, and then Tracy comes on. But it's going to be 6:30 till 7:30 tonight. So if you're like, oh, but I'm in the middle of something and I can't call, know that you have that little bit of extra time. Okay, all of that said, I'm hoping that you are my friend on Facebook. If not, please get in touch. You can look me up under the Halley Elise Show, or just Halley Elise, or the website, which is HalleyElise.com. I have I guess it's considered a group page where it's called Psychic Stories with Halley Elise. And the reason for that is to share things that are metaphysical and things that are psychic and things that are, we'll say, out of the ordinary, such as astral projection or having unusual experiences when you see things that you think aren't there. A lot of folks like to be on that page and like to share, but also get a lot of information. I had a gal who wrote something about numbers the other day. She needed a resource so that she could identify what was going on with her. She kept seeing the same 3 numbers over and over and over again. She kept waking up at the same hour over and over and over again. So I went ahead and gave her that information. So it's a great way to join a community without any sort of obligation. And it's a great way to interact with other people with similar mindset. So, again, that's Psychic Stories with Halley Elise. And actually, the with is not spelled out. It's just W-Halley Elise. But you can always just go on the Halley Elise page, and you'll notice that there's a lot of connections there. As to the website, if you've not been on, take a look. There's also an abundance of information. I do, of course, have all my fees listed there. I have the Psychic Gallery listed there, which, as you know, is the first Monday of the month, live in person. And that's also in Boca Raton. I am available for keynote speaking, which I got to tell you, I love. I really do. I did an engagement just a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was about 300 people there. So much fun, truly so much fun, because we kind of play off of each other. So more information is available on the website, and it is halleyelise.com. So this evening, as I said, call in. If you've been wanting to come into the office, but you weren't too sure, or you didn't have the time, or what have you, you have no excuse this evening. You should pick up the phone. It's 888-565-1470. Real easy. So in the interim, while we're waiting on calls, I saw that there's actually somebody on the line here. So if you will, go ahead and put them through. The glare, I can't even see the name. It's like, wait. Oh, got it. Okay. Thanks. Kenny's in the tech room, and thankfully he's able to let me know when somebody's actually calling. Okay, Susie, are you there?
I really am. Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
Very good. So, you have a question this evening?
Wow. Well, no, I just thought you were going to give me a psychic message, but yeah.
Well, we could do that as well. I'm sorry.
I'll attach it to a question then. Is that how I'm supposed to do it?
Well, we can go either way, honestly. The reason that I phrase it is psychic messages, so that people don't think they're going to get an hour reading on the show, because a lot of times they're like, oh, but you said a reading. And, that's more than one question. So I give the person an opportunity to ask a specific question. And what I usually is...
I'll give you a clue. You'll know who I am. Since I say, I'm off of Richard now, and I have questions. What can you tell me about Jerry?
Okay, you're off of Richard and you're with Jerry. That's cute.
Well, not with, I don't know if I'm with Jerry yet, but I have questions like, what is the vibe on Jerry?
Gotcha. And now I realize who this is. Hi. Took me a moment, sorry. See, I get into this space and I'm on the air and I'm like multitasking in my head. Doesn't always connect immediately. Alrighty then. Let me see what I pick up with Jerry. Nice man. Very different from the other gentleman. I feel like there's more of an ease, if you will, with this gentleman within himself, a little bit different. It feels like, the other gentleman has very strong motivational skills in many different areas. And not that this person isn't motivated for the right information, but the overall impression is that he looks at the world differently. And if you just notice the screen get all wonky there, thanks to my producer playing games. Thanks, Freddie. Bye. I figured I'd share since he's coming in. It's been a weird night, and it's just started. Anyways, the point that I'm trying to make, Susie, is this is a nice man, but you cannot compare to the other gentleman. And even with, I'm going to say, the person that you were married to, I feel like this gentleman embodies some of those qualities actually from both gentlemen, but is very different and very unique in his own right. There's, I get a warmth about him that I really like, if you will, an authenticity about him. Mm-hmm. And I get the sense that whatever you want to do, and here's where there's a similarity, he will be all for. He's more than happy to support and motivate. And if you need a hand with something, he's the type of person that would definitely be there and help out.
Could he be my forever person?
As far as your forever person, I actually feel that there's another individual coming. I know she's not going to talk to me anymore after this. But okay. I do. I feel like he is the person that prepares you for the next one. And literally the next one is it. As in, no more searching, no more dating. When you meet this other person, it's it. But this gentleman is in your life right now, if you will, to nurture you and bring you back into a place of personal alignment so that you're really open and really ready for that forever man.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty. Which is not Richard.
Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, all right. Well, okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great night.
I hope to see you in Florida soon.
Okay, that would be wonderful. Take good care, hon. Bye-bye. Okay, we have Norma on the line. Hi, Norma. How are you?
Hi, I'm great, thanks. And you?
Good. Is this the Norma that I know, or is this a different Norma?
It's just a Norma.
Okay.
Another Norma. Yeah, my question is, my finances are upside down right now. What do you see in the future?
Okay. Get a couple of things here, actually. Part of the reason that your finances, are not where they need to be is because of the way that you look at money. Not the way that you handle money, but the way that you look at it. And let me explain what I mean. Even if you have money, there is always that fear of, well, am I going to have enough? Or, is this going to last? Or where's the rest coming from? It feels to me as if there is an underlining, if you will, symptomology for yourself that you really have to examine and start to release so that you can have money on a regular basis. Because again, I don't feel like it has so much to do with management. It has more to do with fear. And as far as work, you definitely have to get your footing. This is, what are we in? We're in July, August. We're in August. Yes, I'm going to say by October, you can look to be in a position where you've got some continuity and consistency in respect to money. So if you can do your best the next 2 months to really focus on being grateful for even if it's a penny and really get into your head that money still has value even if it's a small amount.
Yes.
You should start to shift things enough so that when October rolls around and you step into this new role, it'll be easy for you to maintain. And then you can start on a nice even keel from there on out.
Okay, great.
All right, then. I thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. You have a great program.
Thank you. Good night.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay, so we had two ladies call in. It's funny because I knew the first gal, and it took me a minute. I didn't recognize the voice. That's what happens when people aren't local. You know who they are, but they have to remind you. And like I said, get a little wonky sometimes when I'm on the air and I'm doing a lot of different things. It's interesting when it comes to the whole psychic thing, and I have to share this. I mentioned it to our producer earlier. You may have heard me yesterday, actually, on the Jill Dane show. I came in to hang out, but it was kind of funny how things went. Jill had been on my mind. She actually was topic of conversation earlier in the day, and I shared that with her. I was out with some friends, and she came up, and I got home, and I was just kind of doing some things, and I kept thinking, I need to call Jill. I'm going to see Jill today. And I know she's here at the station on Sundays. And as I go to pick up the phone, I hear in my head, got to ask her about coffee. Got to get her coffee. So I'm like, okay. And I'm pretty good at this point, at listening to that silly little voice that may or may not make sense, but there's a reason for it. So I get Jill on the phone. She's like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. I was just going to pick up the phone. I was thinking about you. Every time I think about you, you pick up the phone. I'm like, yeah, it's that psychic phone call before you actually pick up the phone. So we giggled a little bit. And then I said, so what do you like in your coffee? She goes, I really need coffee. I got a thing before I came up to the office or the station, and I put it on the car, and that was the end of it. And we've all done that once in a while. You put something on the top of the car and you jump in and forget about it thereafter. So anyways, I got Jill some coffee. I came up to the station and got to hang out. And we had a ball because I don't know if you're familiar with her son, Jimmy, but he's singing now. And he's a beautiful young man with an amazing voice. And he and some friends that are within the same age group, that young teen age, went to the mall. And I guess they let their fans know on Twitter or there was something, not FaceTime, another one. Can you tell I'm not up to par with all the social media? Anyways, there was something chat. That's what it was. Face chat or something chat. Anywho, they went ahead and advertised or shared, might be a better word, that they were going to be at the mall in Aventura. Next thing you know, there were 2,000 kids that showed up. Can you imagine? So if you're thinking that social media doesn't do the trick, I guess it does. It's just a matter of reaching out. So I've got to get better at that. But if you're good at that, make sure you share with people who are on the air right now. Anywho, spent some fun hanging out with Jill yesterday, and she said she could pop in this evening, but we'll see. My feeling is I would be surprised if she showed up tonight. Much easier on a Sunday afternoon than a Monday evening with traffic. Anywho, I really want to take a moment and I'll say, if you will, give pause to the fact that everybody watching the show or listening to the show has psychic ability. And if you're thinking, well, no, that's not true. You know, I don't do readings and I don't know things before they happen. The truth is everybody has a knowing, if you will call it a knowingness. And you've heard me talk on the show before about the different types. You know, some people are medium and they speak to the dead. Some are channels and they literally channel in masters. Some of us are clairvoyants and we see in the future. You know, many people, you can say, are sensitive, and they are sensitive to their environment enough that when they walk into a space, they know that something is not right. They can tell if somebody's had a fight or if there's something good that's taken place. So what I'm trying to get at is you have not only the ability, but the potential to build on your own abilities, your own sense. You just have to want to do it. And one of the easiest ways of doing that is by, before you go to bed at night, start saying to yourself, I am open to receiving all my psychic wisdom. Real simple, just a statement. And you can say it throughout your day. I am open to receiving all of my psychic wisdom. One more time. I am open to receiving all of my psychic wisdom. Now, remember as a kid, they used to tell you if you were taking a test that your first answer is right. Remember that? Okay. So the reason for that is because it is that intuitive knowing, that sensitivity, that, if you will, psychic awareness that guides you in the right direction. Follow it. You know, some people refer to it as a gut instinct. Okay. Mother's intuition. Okay. I just knew it. Okay. All of it's applicable. And the idea truly is for you to pay attention to what you get. If you get something, really listen. There's a gentleman who called in yesterday on Jill's show. He had a question about his mom. He was taking care of her. And she said something, I said something, and he turned around and said, oh, that was my feeling initially. And Jill immediately chimed in, well, you need to listen to that. And I agree. I mean, we're definitely from the same school when it comes to that. If something shows up for you, you want to pay attention to it. You don't want to dismiss it. If there's a gut feeling, if there's that overwhelming sensation about something, pay attention to it. Because it has value. And the more that you pay attention to it, the more things come in. If there's fear about, oh, but I don't want to know bad things, and, you know, I don't want to be seen as some weirdo, or there's all sorts of excuses out there as to why you shouldn't pay attention to your own knowing. What about the excuses that you should, such as if you know people well because you're listening to that inner guidance, then you choose good friends. If you pay attention while you're going down the street and something says get into the other lane and you do, and then you see the car next to you where you would have been get hit, that's huge. You have the ability, so it's time to start paying attention. And the reason I push this so much is because it makes such a difference. There are so many people in the world that are unhappy. There are so many people, truly, I'm astonished. I had the other day, I think, 3 clients that came into the office who, the best way that I can phrase this is to say that they were suicidal because they weren't listening to that inner guidance. The one made a bad choice in respect to relationship and was really harping on themselves about it. The other one just felt very alone because they had elected to be in a business that was very cutthroat and it wasn't really, you know, who they are. And then it was a matter of not paying attention to certain dealings that they could have walked away from. So there was a lot of money loss. There was another one. I mean, the point is, you have a gift that you come into this world with. Doesn't it make sense to expand on it, to enhance it, and allow yourself that time to grow? We do it with everything else. If we want to drop weight, if we want to learn how to ride a bicycle, whatever it is, there is always a way to grow. And this is a great way to grow because when you have that knowing, you make really good decisions. For instance, if you feel that somebody is not well and you pick up the phone and they go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called. I was thinking about you. Things aren't going right. Can you come over? And you did it at the right time to make something happen. On a lighter note, I have some dear friends and one of them was pregnant. And I said, oh, baby's coming early. And and baby's going to be, X number of pounds. And it was so funny because the other day I called one of the relatives to this young lady, and I said, okay, what's going on with the baby? And I hear 1 centimeter. I'm like, okay, so I know baby's on the way, because I was feeling it. And so then I called the young lady, and we were on the phone back and forth, and I was delighted that, yes, in fact, the baby did come early, and yes, in fact, that the pound size was correct. Not because I have to be correct, but it's fun and it's exciting that she looked forward to her little one coming early, and also an easier, if you will, delivery, because the baby was a little bit smaller. So stuff like that, it makes you feel good, and you have the ability to share. So give some thought, truly. Not that you have to see clients every day, not that you have to be on the radio or the TV or any of it, but just for your own welfare. We often make choices based on what we think instead of what we feel. Matter of fact, I'm going to clarify here. When I do the Psychic Gallery on the first Monday of the month, a lot of times I do a little exercise. We do some stress management, we do some alignment with energy, and then each of the guests has an opportunity to do something psychically. And I always tell them, don't think, just feel. And that means anything that comes through, pay attention to. So a lot of times the person will say, oh, well, it felt like, and I thought this, and I thought that, and I'm like, nope, let's do it again. Because it's not about censorship. And that's what the intellectual, or if you will, the ego part of the mind does. It censors. You get a thought and it goes, okay, should I do that or shouldn't I do that? Well, if I do that, maybe it's not going to work out. Or if I do that, maybe then I have to talk to somebody else. Or if I do that, well, you get the gist. Whereas the psychic mind, that part of you, that right hemisphere of the brain, that part of you that taps into universal wisdom and to that higher knowing that you have, it says, this is the way it is. And then you choose. So you pay attention. I have a lot of people that tell me often that they can't differentiate between a psychic knowing and, we'll say, an intellectual knowing. And the truth is, yes, you can. It just takes practice. It's that nagging feeling, if you will, that goes along with it. A lot of times people have a physical sensation. It's not always in words, not always in pictures. You can actually have a taste that shows up in your mouth. So for instance, if, let's say you love chocolate ice cream and you're visiting a friend and they're going through some strife, and you're sitting there trying to console them, and all of a sudden you taste chocolate ice cream and you think to yourself, this is insane. Why am I tasting chocolate ice cream? Think about it. Sweetness, something you enjoy. In that moment, you're getting a message to share with that other person. You know what? I really know things are going to be okay. I get a sense of sweetness coming into your world. And this is not because, again, you have to be that psychic that knows everything and charges and fixes things, but more because you get to be a support system in a greater way for a friend, a family member, or even yourself. Give some thought to it. We're going to take a little bit of a break. And remember, you can give a call in at 888-565-1470. We'll be right back with the Halley Elise Show.
Bob, did you see Halley Elise in the paper?
Who?
The empowerment psychic, Halley Elise. They did a 2-page write-up. The columnist was enthralled. Halley went right to an issue that she was dealing with. I'm looking at HalleyElise.com right now.
What are you thinking? Should we schedule an appointment?
Matter of fact, yes. You have issues with Sue and me, my business. Take a look at her background. It's impressive, and she has decades of experience.
I want to put it on my iPad. What's her info?
Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise. HalleyElise.com. 561-755-2166.
Spell it.
HalleyElise.com.
So it's HalleyElise.com and 561-755-2166, right?
561-755-2166. That's it.
Talk 1470 WWNN Pompano Beach, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
You're listening to Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise, and she invites you to visit her website for more information about all that she does at HalleyElise.com. Now, back to your host, Empowerment Psychic Halley Elise.
Welcome, everyone, or I should say welcome back. I want to remind everyone that the Halley Elise Show this evening is an hour long, and that We Are the People with Tracy Marks will be back next week. Same channel, same time, 7 p.m. So be sure to tune in for Tracy and We Are the People next week. And this evening, you have an opportunity to call in and have a psychic message, ask a question, have, if you will, a mini reading. And you can do that with 888-565-1470. Now, what's funny about this is the gal who does my social media for me has been advertising for days that we're going to be on the air, we're going to do readings. And what happens inevitably is when I'm not on the air, I will get phone calls saying, how come you don't do readings on the air? Or somebody will say, oh, I thought it was at 8:30. I didn't know it was at 6:30. So if you are paying attention even a little bit, this is your time. Now, really think about it. This is the only time that this is complimentary. It's not a gift with purchase. That's at the Psychic Gallery. I'm being silly, but in all sincerity, feel free to give a call in. It's 888-565-1470. And again, tune in to Tracy next week. I'm going to mention my friends at How one more time, their phone number. I'm giving lots of phone numbers, aren't I? 561-955-0099. If you didn't catch what I was saying earlier about the ladies over at How, they are on Federal Highway. How means holistic organic wellness, and they have a fabulous little shop where they do programs, where they have supplements, where they can teach you about diet, where your mind, body, and spirit really can be nurtured. I was in there earlier today for the best facial ever. Honestly, Stephanie is amazing. Adriana is amazing. Both girls, phenomenal. So I'm going to give you their number one more time, even if you just want to call and go, okay, what's this about? What do you do? Tell them that I told you to call. They'll be happy to give you information. It's 561-955-0099. So that's How. And I had somebody ask about the gallery. For some reason, they were under the impression that it's sporadic, like maybe it's 1 month and it's not the next. I've been actually doing the gallery for several years, and it is always on the first Monday of the month. The exception, and if there is an exception, it will be posted on the website as well as all over Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. The exception is when there's a holiday such as New Year's Eve or Christmas or Yom Kippur, because during those times, nobody's coming to the gallery. They're kind of busy. So keep that in mind. First Monday of the month. And it's actually at my office building. If you've not been to the greenhouse offices, you definitely want to check it out. Just beautiful, truly beautiful. We have a garden that runs from the front end of the building to the back. It takes over the entire downstairs area. And that's where I do the galleries. There's water and there's beautiful plants and just a lovely, lovely place to enjoy. So do come out the first Monday of the month at 7:30 p.m. So there's an hour difference between the radio show and the gallery. And also, so that you know, during the nights of the gallery, I don't come into the station. We will play the show from the week before. So this way you have an idea. Okay, Denise, yes? All right. We have a caller. Hi, Denise. How are you?
Hi, Halley. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for calling tonight.
Sure.
So did you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
We are receiving test results from a relative tomorrow that will we'll have to make decisions whether we continue treatment or discontinue treatment.
Okay.
And
The phone broke up. Wait. Phone broke up a little bit. I want to make sure I hear you correctly. I think you said that you are receiving test results tomorrow, whether you have treatment or continue treatment. Is that correct?
But for a relative, not for me.
Okay.
And yes, we will decide then whether we'll continue treatment or whether we go into palliative care. And usually I'm pretty prepared for these types of things. I have the sort of know where it's going to go. And I have nothing. I'm just clueless. I'm not prepared. So I'm sort of unsure why I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, sometimes when we're close to somebody, we would rather not know. And I think that interferes with our usual intuitive ability. I know, for instance, you could have a sense that there's something wrong with somebody and run over and you're there at the right time to help them with something. But by the same token, when you have a loved one near you, you don't want to know bad results. Even though it's helpful, it's not always a good thing to know. And I'll be honest, my feeling here is very ambiguous. my overall sense is physicians wanting to continue the care as far as treatment. My sense is it shouldn't be done. I feel like it's more about quality of life at this point. And I feel like there hasn't been enough of a massive change up to this point to continue.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. But it absolutely confirms everything. The entire thing has been ambiguous for me, so I wasn't sure to begin with it was the right thing to do, to wait. But yes, totally makes sense.
Okay, so what I would like to suggest in the interim, because I don't believe in giving up on hope, and I don't believe that there are absolutes. You know, the only God has an absolute when it comes to these matters. Get a circle of people together, do some prayer work. If you know somebody who works with reconnective healing energy, bring them in. Keeping in mind that a person's journey here on earth is theirs, meaning no matter what we want, sometimes it really is, if you will, destiny, for lack of a better way to put it, for them to have a certain period of time. By the same token, I've seen amazing things happen with prayer and with energy work. And if you're comfortable with those things, it would be really wise to get a group of people together that you trust, or that, if you will, really know their stuff, and ask them to loan some assistance with this. Because the idea is for this loved one to feel as good as they can for as long as they can.
Right, correct, right. Okay.
All right, my friend. I thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, I hear the phone ringing off the hook there. I have to wait till Kenny lets me know. If you're wondering why I keep cocking my head backwards, because the if you will, just drew a blank. The board, the operational board in that main room is behind me instead of on the side. I think we should turn this around. What do you think? I should ask my producer. Not that I don't cause enough trouble as it is, but it'd be kind of fun to turn it around, be a little easier to work with. I don't know. He ran out, or he's working on something. Okay, so we'll wait. All right. As I started to say, as far as before our caller called in, the Psychic Gallery. It is the first Monday of the month, and we do a lot of fun things. I mean, all kidding aside, I talk quite a bit because that's me, and I share information, and I share some funny stories, so we laugh quite a bit. But everybody does get individualized attention, and whether it's 6 people or 50 people, I make sure that I talk with each and every one of you when you come out. I know a lot of times you attend a program, and the person facilitating only gets to a few people because it's just kind of the scheme of things. I do my best to try to keep it as short and succinct as possible so that everybody is taken care of. So keep that in mind too. If you want to come out for a lot of fun and for education and for reading all at one time, the Psychic Gallery is the way to go, for sure. Okay, so we have another caller. Hold on, I'm trying to get out of the glare. Okay, Frank, thank you. Hi, Frank, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. What's your question this evening?
Hi. I just got out of a short relationship, and I wanted to know what the future held for my next relationship.
Okay. You're young. All kidding aside, you have a very young heart. You like to play. You like to have a good time. Relationships for you, I want to say, are not difficult, but sometimes they can be not as exciting as you like them to be. So I want to make a little suggestion before I even get into answering as far as the next relationship. The next relationship that you have, if you find that your loved one is not up to par, think about some of your friends, meaning that we can't always have one person in our world that fulfills all of our needs. You know, there's somebody who we love and we have sex with and we hang out with and we eat with, but they hate the game that we like, or, you know, they're not crazy about going to the family functions or whatever it is. So try to keep in mind that because you are so, I'm going to say, high energy and so young, I'll say young spirited is the best way to phrase this, that not everybody's able to stay at that same level. All that being said, I feel like it's going to be roughly 3 months. We're in what, August? September, October, November. So I'm going to say before the holidays, you know, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all that, you will find that you have somebody else in your world that you're really enjoying.
Okay.
All right. I thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great night.
You too.
Thanks. Okay, so what I was sharing with this gentleman, Frank, really is apropos for all of us. You know, so many times we meet somebody and we're crazy about them, but we expect them to be everything. We expect them to be our best friend, and we expect them to be our counselor, and we expect them to be our lover, and we expect them to be a great family person, and they're supposed to have all the same interests as we have, and. It can go on for forever. Truth is, no person can fulfill all of those needs. You know, you have to be realistic. There's a lovely gal that I know who is in California, and she is so talented in so many ways. But when it comes to relationships, has a very difficult time, because if the gentleman shows interest, she immediately wants it to be permanent. She immediately wants it to fit very neatly in a box. And it can't. I mean, really give some thought to the fact that we all come from different backgrounds, whether it is religion or nationality or where we were raised or it's economics. And even when, let's say, all those things are in par, let's say you come from the same level of economic status and you come from the same religious and national background, that doesn't guarantee that you think the same. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to like everything the same. So it's really important that you maintain friendships even when you get into a romantic relationship. And I know both men and women that they fall off the earth as soon as they get involved in a relationship. And it's kind of sad, because more often than not, after a short period, they realize that the person that they gave everybody else up for is not everything. Again, they can't be. You know, they're entitled to be their own person, to like their own things. And it's really great when you find somebody that there's some opposites and you're able to go, ugh, I don't like that. But you know what, sweetie? I'm all for it. What can I do to help? Or, you know, I'll give you an example. Let's say you don't care for football, right? And let's say your mate loves football, lives for football, wants to watch it, wants to do the big to-do and all the food, and let's say it's just not your bag. So with an open heart, you should be able to say, go to your friends. You know, more power to you. Have a great time. I hope your team wins, and legitimately be happy for them and be okay with letting them go and doing something on their own that they enjoy. Not with fear that, oh, they're going to meet another person there, or they're not giving you enough attention because they're not home, they're busy doing the football thing. Really and truly do your best to say, okay, this is their thing. Let them go. By the same token, they should do the same for you. You know, really and truly, you have to allow yourself to be an individual, but also allow them to be who they are, because you fell in love with that person or you're dating that person because of who they are. Changing them doesn't make sense. Now, here's where this intuition comes in, which is really awesome. If you have a gut feeling about something, let's say you have been looking at some guy and you never see a gal around him. So you're thinking, attractive individual, there's a nice vibe there. I should go say hi. No, I'm too shy. I can't say hi. No, he's going to think I'm too forward. If your first feeling was there's something there, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, there's some sort of attraction, there's that gut instinct or feeling or knowing, you want to pay attention to it. You want to walk over to that person and talk to them. It may not be that there's a draw or a pull or an attraction for the reason that you think. Maybe for something totally different. So for instance, let's say you go over to that guy and you say, hi, saw you standing there and I was just compelled to come over and say hi. And you start talking. You may find out that he and you went to the same high school and you know all the same people. Or you may find out that he's in a business where you've been wanting to get your foot in the door and you weren't able to, but hey, now that you know this person, he can help you. Again, it's not always for what you think, but you do want to pay attention to that pull, to that draw. Why are you compelled? Why is that feeling there? My mom has a girlfriend who's been a friend of the family, actually her and her husband, for many, many years. And my mother and she were at a party, and this is going back, gosh, it's got to be 20 years maybe, if not longer. And my mom's friend says to her, see that man over there? And she points to this handsome man across the room. They hadn't met. They didn't even run in the same circles, okay? He was there by separate accord. And my mom says, yeah, I see this guy. Why, what about him? And she says, I'm going to marry him. And my mom goes, you don't even know who he is. She goes, I'm telling you, I'm going to marry him. They did. And I think it's amazing because she noticed him. She immediately knew that she was going to marry him. And she didn't go over to him. He later in the evening came over to her. They started dating immediately. And he is probably one of the nicest men I know. Truly, one of the nicest men I know. And they have a relationship that most couples would hope for. So those feelings, that gut instinct, go for it. Now, and keep in mind, I said earlier too about that intuitive or that psychic knowing versus that intellectual knowing. You have to get to a place where you can discern the difference. So for instance, let's give the same scenario. There's a handsome looking person, or beautiful woman, either or, across the room. And you're like, wow, I need to go over there. Well, is that, wow, I need to go over there because you're feeling attracted to them physically? Or is it something deeper? And that's what you want to pay attention to. You want to listen to what it is that you're feeling and know that it is a feeling. We have another caller, I believe. I'm checking to see the name. Okay, Christina. Got to get away from that glare. Hi, Christina. How are you?
Good evening.
Did you have a question, honey?
Yes, I keep getting a message that something big is coming up at the end of the month for me.
Okay. Immediately, as soon as you said big, what popped into my head is it has to do with business. It's not personal, it's professional. And I feel like you're going to be recognized more than you have been ever before. There's a sense of having, like, I want to say a project, or if you will, an idea that's been sitting in the back of your head that you've been wanting to bring to the table, but you haven't really either developed it or you haven't really believed in it. But I feel like opportunity is going to be here, I'm going to say by February. So next month is going to be, if you will, that light that starts you in a different direction as far as business, career, and whatever it's been, I'll say, that's been playing in your mind for some time, you're going to actually see it come to fruition.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So, let me remind everybody that Tracy Marks from We Are the People will return next week at 7 p.m. for her regularly scheduled show. This evening was just to play a little bit and see how you folks liked an hour of the Halley Elise Show. I want to thank folks who have called in already this evening, and so that you know there is still time to call in. It's 888-565-1470 if you'd like to call in, and if you have a question or you'd like a little mini reading. I'm here to serve, literally. You know, it's funny, I use that word to serve, but I genuinely mean it. I have clients that come in, and of course, I'm in business to make money. People are in business to make money. But I didn't just study how to be psychic yesterday and then all of a sudden go into business. I've been coming up with things and saying things and doing things since I was a little kid. You know, my family can tell you about that. And when somebody comes in the door, if I sense something, and I mentioned this a little while back about, for instance, these folks that came in that were like borderline suicidal, my interest in that moment is about their wellness. Of course, I want to get paid, want to be acknowledged for my service and for my time. But it's very important that people understand that whoever you go to, not that you have to come to me, go to the gal down the street or the guy, you know, in Timbuktu, make sure you feel comfortable with them. Make sure you feel that there is a, if you will, an authenticity or a genuineness about them. If as soon as you walk in the door, they start asking you questions other than, how are you? You might want to run out the door. If you find that they say something like, oh, you have 2 kids, and you go, well, no, I don't have any children. Oh, well, I meant that you're going to have 2 kids. If somebody does that, again, you really don't want to pay attention because they're not honest. Run out the door. Say thanks, but no thanks. Bottom line, you want to be responsible for you. You want to listen. I mentioned again, and I'm going to be a little bit redundant about like what I mentioned earlier, but this is really important. You have a gift. You have abilities. You have a knowing. pay attention to that if you go to somebody. Make sure you feel comfortable. If you feel afraid, if you feel as if they're menacing in some way, you want to say no thank you. Okay. I see Phyllis is on the line. Hi, Phyllis. How are you?
Hi, I'm okay. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. What can I answer for you this evening?
What I'd like to know is, what can you tell me about my emotional state, my emotional feelings at this time in my life?
Okay. Couple things, and I actually feel like it started a while ago. It's not that it just started recently. This has been kind of growing for a while. It feels like to me, I'm going to say 15 months, 18 months roughly. But I feel like there was, if you will, a touch of it even going back as far as 3 years ago. I feel like it has a lot to do with blood sugar and not being, if you will, internally balanced, so that it throws off our entire system. You know, we take for granted that having proper nutrition, really eating well, has an effect on our brain chemistry, but it does. So all that said, just kind of keep that in mind for a moment. We are in, again, August, so I'm going to say by January, I see things shifting for you. I can tell you that for you to move beyond this space, you would benefit by doing some meditation, and not meditation as in like sitting in a room and go, oh, I have to be quiet. I don't mean like that. I'm talking about guided meditation, where somebody is facilitating you going into that restful place, and specifically about wellness. So not so much about relaxation, which you could use a little bit more of, but specifically about wellness, as in the body being well, the body being whole. Because again, I feel like this has started, a few years back, even though the bulk of it has been more recent. And I feel like this can turn around. And again, I feel like by January, you can see a major difference. By the same token, you are a very sensitive person. You pick up on everybody else's stuff. You really have to be more aware not to take that in. And what I mean by that is, you can be out and about and be in an okay mood, and then all of a sudden start to feel yourself shift a little bit, and you start to wonder, well, why am I not feeling right? What's going on? It's not just your physical in that moment. You're actually picking up on some other people around you. So what you want to do is start asking yourself, does this belong to me? Literally, just inside of your head, ask yourself, does this feeling belong to me? And you will know if it's a yes or a no. And if it's a no, then just say, okay, I'm going to let this go because it's not mine. And find some way to keep yourself busy, to distract you, to lift your mood. But I do get change. Part of it, like I said, is addressing your nutrition, whether that means getting it more regularly, like maybe every 4 hours versus, oh, look, it's 10 o'clock, I need to eat, or rushing about and trying to get something down, but, creating a different habit there, as well as, like I said, getting into that peaceful state with the specific intention of wellness. And roughly 6 months here, you're going to see a difference as to your sensitivity with other people. When it comes to relationships, I don't want to say that you have to guard your heart, but I feel like you have to let people prove that they are who they are before you give everything away. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Because I just get the feeling that, again, because you're sensitive, you pick up on what their needs are, what their wants are, and you're Johnny on the spot. You show up for them. And it's not always reciprocal. And, people can say, oh, that's general, but I really feel like this happens to you on a very consistent basis. And it's time to start shifting that. So you're literally dealing with mind, body, and spirit changes here, but all very doable. And you can see excellent results within roughly 6 months.
Okay.
I hope that answered for you.
I appreciate that. I really do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for calling in.
Okay.
Have a great night. Bye-bye. Okay, so as you heard when I spoke with this nice lady just a moment ago, when we have things that pop up in our life, it's not always just one thing, but there is that mind, body, spirit connection. Louise Hay, if you're not familiar with her, you definitely want to take a look at her book called, I'm drawing a blank here, Heal Your Life. Yeah, I think I'd remember that. I've mentioned it many times before, but it really is great because it gives you a corollary between the emotional state, the physical state, the spiritual state. And if, for instance, you go to a physician because you have an eye problem, right? And the doctor says, oh, well, there's something going on with the pressure in the eye, and we can give you medicine, and that's going to fix that. And then you read that the side effects of the medicine is kidney problems. So they tell you to drink more water, which gets you running to the restroom more frequently. And then because you're going so frequently, the bladder is aggravated, and you realize, wait a minute here. I had one problem, and all of a sudden I have these other issues popping up. What's going on? If you're only addressing the physical, you're going to find that your body keeps giving you signals, if you will, symptoms that you have to address so that you pay attention to you. And that's where that mind and spirit comes in. So for instance, let's go back to the eyes. If there's an issue with eyesight, it has to do really and truly with what are you seeing, or what is it that you're choosing not to see. True. And you could go, oh, well, that's a bunch of malarkey. You know what? Only you can answer, but I would say 99.9% of the time, that's correct. You take a look and say, well, what is it in my world that I'm not happy with? What am I seeing that I don't want to see? If there's an esophageal issue having to do with swallowing, if there's a digestive issue in the intestine, all has to do with what are you having to swallow, or what are you having to eat, or what are you having to put up with that you don't want to. You take a look at those things, you start to uncover the variables that have to do with your emotional state, and you start to address them from a spiritual perspective as well as an intellectual one. You're going to find that things start to shift very quickly. I can tell you from personal experience, there was somebody who was in my life who I just adored. Lovely, lovely woman, family member, and her son was going to marry somebody that she didn't care for. She was worried for her son's welfare as far as financially, emotionally, a lot of reasons, and very valid reasons. But this was a woman who, in her own right, was astounding and warm and kind, and she had such a hard time with this that all of a sudden we found that her memory wasn't so good. And then not too long after her son was married, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Now you could say, oh, come on, you're really pushing it here, Halley, because, Alzheimer's, they've proven there's, genetics and there's the physical. And I agree, yes, there is that physical support, that medical support. But it is not a matter oftentimes of will you get something, but how it comes on, when it comes on, and how it's managed. Give a little thought to that. If you're finding that there's a physical ailment that you're experiencing on a regular basis, and you're taking medicine, or even worse, not doing anything about it, and it keeps popping up, there's a reason. And it doesn't always have to do with the physical body. So give some thought to what is it that you need to see for you. A lot of times I'll have somebody come into the office and I will preface with, I have no medical training, I am not a physician, and what comes in for me is something that I sense, but I am multisensory. I hear, feel, see, taste, smell, the whole gamut there. The only thing I don't do is talk to the deceased, which, is kind of a funny joke between my friend Joseph and I, who, by the way, let me share real quick, Joseph Labruto, the psychic medium, is going to be on the show in the near future here. Yeah, he's been on before, but we were hanging out the other day and we talked about him coming back on, so he'll be on. He talks to the dead. Anyways, going back to what I was saying, if you start to examine your reactions to what is going on in your world, you will realize that you have the ability to make change. And change is not limited to just the physical. Change always has to do with the spiritual. It always has to do with your perception of the world. Truly. There's somebody else I know who was diagnosed with cancer, was given a short period of time to live. And it was ovarian cancer. And the reason I'm smiling is because it's a hoot. It's like, oh, you're definitely not going to be here. You're going to die. She did not do chemo. She did not do radiation. She was actually a nurse that I met who was taking care of a friend who was ill. And in 6 months, she was free and clear. She started to recognize where her fears were. She started to do that internal work. And then she started to work on a spiritual end. She started to pray. She started to create better habits. She changed her diet. She did a multitude of things. But amazing, she's free and clear even to this day. And it's got to be 7-8 years. You have a lot more power than you realize. Always. Truly, always. And if you think you don't know something, that's not true either. I'm here, if you will, to guide or to give confirmation a lot of times for somebody. They'll come in and they'll say, oh, well, I don't know, blah, 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 and I'd like to know. And okay, and they get information like, I was kind of thinking that, or I was kind of feeling that. Any psychic that you go to has, if you will, the ability, if they're clairvoyant, if they are claircognizant, clairaudient, they're going to pick up things for your future. But you ultimately control where your world goes. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week on the Halley Elise Show. Good night.
Be enchanted and delighted. Connect each week here on WNN for the Halley Elise Show. Also on Facebook and at HalleyElise.com. Thanks for tuning in. The opinions expressed on the preceding